Well, Curtis, if you'd said at the beginning of the season we'd be ninth and it's late October, you'd have snapped somebody's hand off, wouldn't you?
Yeah, definitely. The way we've started, the way we've adapted to the league, and I think we've put a good account of ourselves, even in games we've lost. So that's really important. Obviously, like I say, ninth is a good position at the moment, but it's a long old season, and we know how things can change, because I'm sure there was once that Hull City were flying after beating Arsenal and Tottenham away, and we're right in the top three, and they only just scraped survival. So we don't want to be reminiscent of that, and we want to stay as high at the table as we can come the back end of the season.
What's impressed you most about your teammates? A few new faces in the dressing room, including yourself, but I mean, what's impressed you about the guys around you this season so far?
I think it's the adapting to the league, because I think there's only a few of us that have actually played a few games in the Premier League. So to come to this change room, even though they've done well last year to get promoted, it was a massive thing to see how they adapted to playing against these top internationals every week. And the lads have been fantastic. The manager, the way he puts his confidence into us to do the job that he wants us to do is a massive thing for us, because I think we go out there and we believe in ourselves each game, no matter who it's against. And like I said, I think that showed in the football we've played and the accounts we've made of ourselves so far.
What about for you personally? Because you've got some good reviews this season, you've had a good season defensively, it's looked very sound. Are you pleased with the way your film is shaping up?
I am, because ultimately, like I said, I think I said before, last season, all I could do was be good to get any sort of pat on the back. If I was an average and it was a quiet game, they'd want me to do more. Whereas this season, stepping into the Premier League, you're playing against better players. So as soon as I do one thing right against them, then automatically people are going to be talking about, oh, I'm doing really well. But I'm happy with the way things are going. But I know, like I said, people have form and people have class. I want to be a class player rather than a form player, and I want to try and keep that form up for the rest of the season.
You're very unique amongst footballers, because you have been self-critical in the past. I remember the pub player comment after the Villa game, but it's good to see you really pleased with your form. And is it the best of your career, do you think?
Based on the situation in terms of where people expected us as a club to be, what people outside thought of me, I probably would go along with that. But like I said, this is a time where obviously things are going well for us, and we're doing all right as a club. So if we do hit a bad patch, that will be the time when the players come to the fore and show their true quality. So hopefully that doesn't happen, but ultimately I want to be standing out for my quality in every win, every draw and every defeat.
Do you harbour any ambition still of England? I mean, still a young man, you're still a possibility.
Of course, but the difference now is, when I was young, it was an ambition and I felt it was achievable. Whereas now it's more of a dream. I'm obviously pushing towards that. I would love more than anything to play for England, but ultimately it's one of those things. There's a lot of young centre halves around that seem to be occupying those places, and whether or not the current manager has me in his sights, I'm not sure. But like I said, I can only do what I'm doing for this football club, and I'm enjoying my football here. So if that ends up getting me into any sort of England setup, I'd be delighted.
Disappointed about that defeat at Everton in the rain, but you move on to Spurs, and they're class, aren't they?
Oh yeah, of course. I said they'll have internationals that miss out on the 18-man squad. So when you go to places like that, you know it's going to be tough whoever you play against. It will be interesting to see what team they go with and who they play in this Europa League game this week, to see who's going to play the weekend. But either way, you know it's going to be quality, and we know that we need to be at the top of our game to have any sort of effect. I think we can maybe take example from West Ham and the way that they went there, they set up solid and they took the chances they had, and Spurs are sort of shell-shocked by that. But ultimately, it's easy to happen once, but sometimes lightning don't strike twice. So we need to be on top of our game to hopefully come away with something from White Hart Lane.
I think West Ham exploited the fact that they had a really long journey and the players just didn't seem right on the day, and that can happen, I guess. Yeah,
it can, and that's why we're hoping similar that this week, like obviously the journey thing's a different thing, but the fact that, like I say, playing midweek and then getting yourself ready for a game that maybe some of them will be thinking is a win, that works into our favour basically, because sometimes you think, oh, we've got the midweek game, and then we've got 3 points on Sunday. Sometimes that plays into our hands, the fact that they think they've got the 3 points before they've turned up, whereas we know we've got to go there and scrap for everything we've got. And hopefully that'll work in our favour to get something from the game.
Does this League Cup meeting with them a few days later have any bearing on the Premier League, or might it be two different squads, or might you think of the League Cup as a possible route to Europe?
I don't know what the manager's thinking at this stage, because obviously in the rounds before we've gone with a changed team, maybe a second 11 as it were. But I don't know what the manager's thinking now, because like you say, after this round, you know, a couple more rounds and you're in the final. So it's a fine balance. It'll be a hard one for the gaffer to judge, but I'm sure he knows whatever squad he puts out, he's gonna make the right decision, because if it's a weekend side, then we know we've got a big game on the weekend to play against Sunderland. But if he does put out a strong side and we manage to get through, then he'll be happy also.
Well, Steve Bruce has had so much experience of the Premiership and all the fights to keep Birmingham up. He's got the T-shirt when it comes to absorbing pressure, and perhaps not like Holloway, who said he was tired out by the whole thing. Steve Bruce has been there and done it, hasn't he?
He has, and that's what shows his quality. The manager, he knows what is required. That's what it is. I can't put my finger on it, but he knows each game, every time we approach the game, whoever we're playing, he knows how we can affect this team. Not necessarily overly do it with the tactics and things like that, but he gives individual people certain jobs to do. They do it for him, and touch wood, it's worked a lot of the time for us this season so far.
Just one final question, as an outsider from this area. Hull really loves having a team in the Premier League, and this whole city embraces you. Do you get that sort of feeling that you're representing a very proud city?
I think I do. Like I say, I think before coming here, I believed it was pretty much a rugby town, as people would say. They love their rugby here, and people saw this as a rugby stadium rather than the football stadium. But obviously, I don't know whether it's with being in the Premier League, but the love that myself I've felt since I've been here has been fantastic, and I've enjoyed every moment of being here. And like I say, if the fans stay behind us like the way they have so far, they'll be massive in keeping us in this league.